My mom won't stop trying to set my gay self up with men, so my best girlfriend and I are going to fake an engagement. Plus all updates. I'm 25 and came out as a lesbian over 10 years ago, but my mom is somehow still convinced that it's a very, very long phase. My dad was cool with me being gay, but unfortunately he passed away a few years ago, and since then my mom has been gung-ho about me marrying a man so I can continue the family before it dies out, like we're the effing Kennedys or something, and death is around the corner for all of us. I've tried to be patient with her because I know she's grieving, and I've told her multiple times that being a lesbian does not mean I can't give her grandchildren, but she will not let it go. Every time I see her she's showing me pictures of her friends' sons and begging me to meet them for coffee just to see if there's something there. I have told them that unless that something is these guys telling me they're ready to make a big life change, it is not going to work out. But she's relentless. It's become a running joke with me and my friends, especially my best friend, Annie. Annie and I were roommates in college and we've stayed super close. I was so worried about being roommates with a girl because I was worried she'd be really uncomfortable with the gay thing. But Annie was totally cool with it, and she and her boyfriend always let me third wheel with them and joked that we were a throuple, even though they were both totally straight, so nothing actually ever happened with me and her, and definitely not with him. Ew. So it just became a thing where I'd send Annie the crazy texts from my mom telling me about how she swore she found my Prince Charming this time. Last week, I went home to see my mom, and Annie was making me laugh the whole drive, texting me things like, "Katie, it's mom. I found a sultan who wants to buy you." And "Katie, it's mom again. I found a lizard in my backyard. I'm pretty sure it has a pee-pee. You in?" So I got to my mom's house, and I swear, she didn't even let me get all the way out of the car before it started. She was giddy, like jumping up and down, and she couldn't wait to tell me that her boss's son was getting divorced, and he's gorgeous and rich and I'm just his type. Lesbian? Maybe that's why his marriage didn't work out, and she's already told him that I want to get dinner with him, so all I need to do is show up at the restaurant. Isn't that great? I took a deep breath and said, "Mom, this has to stop. You're not being reasonable." "I'm not interested in dating men," she said. "Katie, clearly the lesbian thing isn't working out for you. Why not give it a shot?" I have to admit that stung a little. The truth is, I have been single for a really long time. I've never had a serious relationship, honestly. And it's not for lack of trying. I feel like I fall for girls really hard and fast and they just don't like me that much. It's tough. So her saying that she was trying to set me up with men not just because she didn't want me to be a lesbian, but because she thought that I was failing at being a lesbian. Ouch. I cut the visit as short as I reasonably could and FaceTimed Annie on the drive home. She was livid on my behalf and spent a while gassing me up, telling me I could have any girl I wanted and lots of other untrue but very sweet things. Eventually I said, "I just wish I had a girlfriend so I could rub it in her face." I mean, I wish I had a girlfriend for a lot of other, better reasons. But rubbing it in her face is definitely up there. And she said, "F girlfriend. You need a fiancé. You need to make her pay for a big gay wedding." I just laughed, but then after a minute I said, maybe I should just make up a relationship. Tell her I'm seeing someone to get her off my back. I'm not sure why I hadn't thought of that before, honestly. Sometimes I'm too honest for my own good, I think. But Annie said, she's going to want proof. And then she paused and said, "Katie, let's tell her we're engaged." I cracked up, but she said, "I'm serious. She knows me. She loves me. Bring me home with you next time. We'll tell her I had some lesbian awakening and we've been secretly dating while we figured out if it was serious and now we're ready to make it official. Rent the U-Haul, call the caterers." I thought about it for a minute and said, and then even when it doesn't work out, it's proof that I can be in a serious relationship with a woman, so she won't think I'm the world's worst lesbian. We spent the rest of the drive home brainstorming. I know it's so crazy, but like honestly, what do I have to lose at this point? Worst case scenario, Annie and I have a hilarious story about the time we catfished my mother in real life. And it's not like things with my mother could get worse than they are. Update number 1. Annie and I went to a thrift store and got some fake as hell big old diamond rings, then went out to lunch into a botanical garden so we could get some pictures of ourselves doing coupley things. We couldn't stop giggling all day at how ridiculous this is. I can't believe we're actually doing this. I texted my mom telling her I'm coming home this weekend because I have big news. This is really happening, oh my god. Update number 2. Annie and I figured out we needed pictures of a trip together to make it all look more legit, so we ended up blowing off work for a few days and driving to a vineyard and staying at this little resort. It was honestly so nice to get away for a while. We hadn't spent that much time just the two of us in ages, since Annie wasn't single until recently. We got to catch up and really talk for the first time in a while, and we just walked around drinking wine and looking in pretty poop and taking our little engagement pictures. It was really nice. Update number 3. Went to see my mom with Annie today. We got out of the car and just shoved those rings right in her face. All look mom. Surprise. Huh, surprised is the understatement of the century. She was thrown. She's met Annie a bunch of times and really does like her, but I think she'd been hoping that Annie was going to help turn me straight eventually. Annie told her that ever since she and her boyfriend broke up she'd been reconsidering her feelings for men, and spending all this time with me made her realize that I'd always been the closest person to her in her life. Besides the part where she broke up with her boyfriend, literally none of that is true, obviously, but she really sold it. By the end of the day together, my mom was actually getting on board. We were talking about wedding venues, y'all. I could not stop laughing on the drive home. Everything was perfect, except there was like a weird moment with Annie. I was complimenting her on her performance with my mom and how her lesbian egg cracking moment was like something out of a movie, and she just got kind of quiet. I hope she didn't think I was calling her story cheesy or something. I thought it was sweet. For a straight girl, she really nailed the lesbian angst vibe. Anyway, I think it's fine. Update number 4. It's been a few months since I updated, so here's what's up. First of all, to everyone saying that Annie is in love with me, she is straight, I told you. She suggested this as a joke. Y'all read too much fanfic. The rest of you all wanted to know when exactly we're planning to call off the wedding and well about that. So I met Annie for lunch the other day to address that very question, because our wedding date is rapidly approaching. Like, we're getting very close to the time that they'll refund the deposits on all this poop my mother has bought, sort of rapidly approaching. So we sat down together to try to figure out how to cancel the wedding. And I think we were both kind of dancing around the subject that calling it off sounded miserable, like it'll hurt my mom so much. And it might send me right back to where I started with her thinking I'm a terrible lesbian, because sure, now she'll think I've been in a serious relationship, but look how that ended. Clearly I need a man. And honestly, the wedding my mom has planned sounds lit and I would like to go to it, please. Thank God for Annie, because finally she was like, do you want to just get to the wedding and see what happens? She laughed and said, I'm tired of being alone. It's not like it has to be a real marriage. We could still date other people, but we'd always have someone that we know we can count on, and that sounds kind of nice, I said. And if we get to the wedding and we decide we don't want to do it, we can always call it off at the altar. And she was like, oh my God, the drama. So that is what we're doing, I guess. Full on love is blinding. My fake wedding. Or real wedding? To my straight best friend? I don't know, y'all. Start placing bets on how this goes down. I'll update. Update number 5. So hi, I said I would update this 2 years ago. Sorry about that. Frankly, I didn't think people really cared. But here's what happened. The wedding rolled around. We were at this really stunning mansion and I was in one room getting ready with my mom. I had my dress on and my makeup done, and girls, I looked good. And my mom was getting emotional, and then I was getting emotional, and I realized that if Annie turned me down at the altar in front of my friends and family, we'd spent months now spending every waking minute together while we pretended to be in a relationship. Well, I realized that I would be heartbroken. And then I knew that I couldn't go through with the wedding. I couldn't marry my straight best friend when I had feelings for her. It just wasn't fair to either of us. So I went to the other side of the mansion where she was getting ready and asked her sister if I could talk to her. She left us alone and Annie walked out and, guys, I can't even describe how incredible she looked. She was wearing this really beautiful ornate dress and her hair was up off her neck and, God, she was like an art piece. And she just stared at me. I said, I need to tell you something, but before I could, she put her hand on my waist and she kissed me. And guys, what a kiss. What a effing kiss. It was like coming up for air. I can't even tell you. So we got married. And it's 2 years later, and after 2 rounds of IVF she is pregnant with our baby coming in a few months. My mother is delighted to be getting a grandchild. I laugh literally every day at our stupidest love story ever, and I guess I owe an apology to all of you who told me Annie wasn't straight, cause at this point I'm starting to think maybe you were right.